Can you hear me online? Yes. Good. Good morning, everyone. Last ones can come fun friend, right? There are so many friends, it's free. Yeah, good. Yeah. Once again, good morning. Let's start the class. What we are discussing yesterday? Hooks, right? Yeah. So let's discuss more about hooks. We will go somewhat more depth in today regarding the hooks. Okay. And at any point, if you are not getting it, let me know. CD, projects, CD, hooks, npm run dev. Okay. So I think everyone understood like why we use use effect, right? Use state. Everyone clear with use state? Yeah. Use state is an asynchronous one. We discussed, right? Where we will get it after use state. If you write something console will print first. Okay. Now let's go with use effect one more time. And in the use effect, let's discuss clear up logic. Now, we didn't discuss till now in use effect clear up logic. Now here, use effect sometimes. Now, first thing use effect runs after paint is done. Sir, whenever your component mounted, what will happen? Component first re-render. So after component render, what will happen? DOM will be updated. DOM, right? DOM will be constructed. After DOM constructed, paint will be done. Right or not? After paint, use effect will be used. Paint means whatever it is showing on the screen, it will show the screen directly. After everything on the screen comes, then the use effect will come. For example, you put an API call. Now let's do it that 5173. Now here, if I put any API call, here if I put any API call means how you will put here I can write. I'm using fetch. So how can you write it? Const fetch data. Okay. So I can write it here. Console. No, 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 no. Fetch means fetch a particular link. Let me go here and bring it JSON placeholder. See, I have it already. Copy, paste. And here, let me write it here. Const data, set data equals to use state initially empty. If I go to this link, what it will come? User ID, search and all. Title, it is printing a title. Let's print all the titles. So set data. Here I will have arena. No, what is this? Directly set data only. So set data of JSON. Now data will be set. So this one logic will be given inside this fetch data. Fetch data will be called here. I think we already know this, right? Right or not? Now, sir, here if I write it, I'm just gonna print it all the values. Import app.css and down here I'm gonna print. I need a map now. Data. If data is existed, let's print the data. Data.map, and in the map, let's take it as some value, something called t, and here let's print the t. Li para t. That's it. T dot title. Very good. T dot title. Go here. Go to your Vit application now. Just refresh it once, sir. Now, can you see there is a gap? There isn't a fraction of gap. First count two, increment two. These are the normal things. They are not dependent on anything, right or not? They are not some asynchronous operations or they are not anything. First, they will come. First, they will come. That means first, after you are DOM loaded, first paint will be done. Paint means whatever it's showing on the screen. Once the painting is done, then use effect will be called. There will be a minute gap. Is it clear? Any doubts in that? Any doubts in that, sir? No. Now, doubts, ma'am? No. Now, let's make it somewhat more complex. Now, here I will put an input button. Input. If someone is typing it on change, and I will write it here. The moment I am changing this particular one, I will take this value. Okay, whatever the value is there. Now, what I will do is, I will just write filter uh, filter data, and I'm passing e. Go here. Let's write it here. Const filter data equals to e, and I'm gonna write it something called same logic. I'm gonna do const filtered data equals to what I'm going to do is in input, if you type it like x, then whatever the elements contain x will come out of all these titles. I'm gonna do a filter logic. I don't want to print everything. I want to print it only the filtered ones. Is it clear, ma? Now this particular thing I'm doing it now. Now, sir, try to understand it somewhat a bit. Okay, earlier till now we understood a basic. Okay, now you guys have to focus on somewhat another level. What I did till now, So I just did some fetch logic. I did some fetch logic and I just printed on the fetch logic. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, where is this filtered button? Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is, now see here in this button, if I type it D, all the elements which contains D in this particular titles will come. Is it clear? Any doubts? Any doubts, sir? No. Now that one I can do. Okay. Now go here. Or the same logic, movie logic. Did you remember? We did it movie logic. Okay, triple R and all. That movie logic also you can do. Movie API. I think somewhere we did it that movie API. Movie search. In the movie search, I think I did this logic where triple R. I used a similar logic. Now you will understand the exact problem if we use this logic. Control C. Now go here. Go here. Where is this hooks? Now instead of printing the JSON placeholder, if I write this movies logic where async and here set data, okay, and if I go here instead of search term something like this, if I go here Titanic, now in the search I'm getting it title. Okay, so I'm gonna print the titles. So whatever the titles which contains this all. Where is this data dot search? Everything is working nice. Only the thing is search term is not there. Const search term, comma, set search term equals to use state. Initially the search term empty. I'm gonna write it the same logic here. Data here, title here. Instead of filtering and all, I can make it directly a search term. Whenever someone is changing it, search term, set search term, e dot target dot value. Now, see the first time it will call and it is getting an empty one because first time there is no search term. Okay. So initially I'm giving in a search term, basic search term is Titanic. Now, now let's go here. Now initially Titanic is coming. See, refresh. It will take it some time. It's coming. And now here, if I write it, sir, R, why it's not changing? Huh? No, it should change now. Okay, I did not put it any where is you I did not put any here dependency. So here I should put a dependency whenever the search term changes. Whenever the search term changes, I should put a dependency. Now go here. Now let's go back. Now, sir, if I just refresh it, now here R R R. So the problem is this, sir. Now if I'm going to type here For every input, it is bringing something, something. Okay. Now, if I write it here again, so I need to type it. For example, I want to type mission. Mission Impossible is a movie name. So I want to write it mission. But if I write it MIS bringing MISS, MISSI. So for every letter, it is calling something. For every letter, it is calling something, right or not? Do I need that many calls? No. I wanted to wait for some time. I want this particular thing, wait for some time until I call this particular machine. Sometime I will need na to type. Until that it should wait na. Instead of this, it is calling it on every change, every particular change. If you see here, performance of the application will be reduced. Today, our main goal is performance. Okay. Mainly, you should understand about the performance of the application. Now, see, your application performance will be so much reduced if you see network here. Go to here, network. Now, refresh. Now, initially, whatever the calls it happened, you can see down the request it did. Okay. Why it is not showing it here? Now, here you can see here network request. If you want to show it to you, I will show it to you here something long. You can see it here. Whenever you did this, you can see actually the network request what happened. Okay. But here I am just typing it here. See, im for every letter it is calling actually, right or not? Whether it is bringing or not, it's a different case. But it is calling something that caused my network, that caused the performance of application, which will be reduced, right or not? So to solve this kind of problems, actually React can do this one fast because only small number of data is there. What if I have nearly a 1 lakh applications, 1 lakh data, a data like Prime Video, a data like Netflix when you are searching something? Obviously, it will take it a long time. So in that cases, what people will do, instead of directly call, they may put something called set timeout. Do you guys know what is it mean by set timeout? Set timeout will do some particular action after a particular time. Okay, imagine I put some set timeout. Sir, side effects, see, there is no other way that you can stop the use effect to conduct. Use effect will automatically conduct. So I am doing in different way. What I'm doing it, whenever use effect conducting, I am just asking it set timeout to wait for 1 second. In this 1 second, I will type how much, then it will call. Right? This is what my logic. But my logic has a flaw. Now go here. Now see here. Refresh. Why it is not showing it anything? Just do it one more time. npm run dev. Now see it came. Now the inspect network. Okay. Now initially, now let's start it here. Now if I type it here, Titanic. Sir, now also it's calling, but it's taking time. That's it. Right or not? But what I wanted only Titanic to call first. But remaining also calling. Right or not? Remaining ones are also calling. So to stop this particular thing, you will put something called clear up logic. Side effects will always remain its traces. Now, actually, after a particular 1,000 milliseconds only, after 1,000 means 1 second, okay, or after after 1 second, or after if I give it here five, so after 5,000 seconds only it will call one time, okay, whatever the data it contains, but still it will call it for everything. It will call it for everything. So that problem I will solve it here. So by clear up logic, refresh. Now here I just type it here, machine. Now here it calls everything, even though it brings machine directly, but it calls everything. To solve this, I will do return. So you can do a return inside the use effect. This return logic is a clear up logic, which will clear the traces. So I want only two stages now. Initial use effect and the ending use effect. Ending you have something machine na total after 5,000. Only that. The remaining traces I don't want. So in the remaining traces, people will write it something called. Now it's a return is also a function, same like how you do it normal return. Here I will write it clear timeout. Constant time out timeout. Now refresh it. Now go here. Why it's calling it for everything? It should not call. No. Something somewhere mistake. Somewhere something mistake. Timeout spelling mistake. No, it can be anything. It's just a name of the variable. Just remember, so when we come to the main project, I will show you one more time. But here, remember, use effect can have something called clear up logic. Okay, in the return of use effect, you will write it the clear up logic. For example, if any traces are there, the traces will be cleared out inside the return statement in the use effect. Now, okay, use effect runs after the paint is done, and after the component use effect will have some clear up logic which we can write after return in use effect. Now, next one, sir. Sir, I wanted something to run immediately. I don't want this particular gap. See here, whenever I'm running it, some gap is coming now. For not about timeout. Actually, some gap is coming because first paint will be done. After painting, the use effect will be done. I don't want that gap. I want it before paint something to happen. I want my API call to happen before it something came into painting. That is called use layout effect. What it is called? Use layout effect. Actually, that is what the component did mount. The actual component did mount implementation is use layout effect because component did mount render before the painting. In life cycle method, component did mount render before the painting. Same way, use layout effect also will do. Same thing. If I do, where is this? Use layout effect. Except that the logic is everything is same. If I write it use layout effect, and inside the use layout effect, if I write it here, comma, now just I'm gonna keep it here, control K C. Now here, if I do uh, fetch data, now go here and see this one. If I'm refreshing, now sir, because it's a small data, you can't see, but you can see it here. Everything is coming at once. Whole screen is coming at once, right or not? But if it is use effect, what will come first? The count increment, the buttons will come, and then it will go for the API. Then what it you can use it both. It's up to you. What is the difference is people will use it use effect if whatever the value which is coming from use effect will may have an impact on the screen. For example, you wanted to bring some type of colors and apply that colors on the buttons. So before your DOM renders only you want it, or you wanted some API calls. It can come late also. Why? Because what if I put it in use effect instead of use effect, if I put it in use layout effect API calls, then what will happen? When you are calling API, if any error happened, nothing will show on the screen. You got my point? Sir, imagine this Titanic API is not working. Imagine that API is not working. Then what will happen if you use effect? At least this one will come now. The top one will come, right? Because top one is not dependent on. That is use effect. But use layout effect means everything will go once. Before painting only will happen. So before painting, if in use effect, if this one has a problem, it will not come. Nothing will come. Empty screen will come. This one also not come. So that's why if you want to call something, if you want to bring something which can make an impact on the DOM, then you will use layout effect. Else, you will use something called use effect. Is it clear, Ma, till now? Till now, you guys clear? Now, one more thing. Now, this one's I want you to focus in depth one. Use effect, use layout effect. Okay, where is this use layout effect? Where did I wrote it? No, here. Yesterday, did you guys see use params and use navigate? Okay. Now, I'm not going to discuss again, but anyway, when we use DOM, every time React router DOM, we will use this use parameter and use navigate. It's not a big deal. Now, use layout effect. It is exactly similar. It is exactly similar to use effect, but only difference is use layout effect will render will triggered will triggered before the paint before the paint immediately after the DOM before the paint it will go immediate after the DOM. Okay, we use it we use it in the cases we use it in the cases of we use it in the cases of uh, DOM manipulative data. We use it in the cases of DOM manipulative data to bring it up. Okay, any doubts, ma? Is it clear? Now, next one. Next one. Use memo. Okay. So if you are bringing something manipulative data like width, height kind of ones, then you will use this kind of thing, sir. Okay. Now, now what more is, mm, what are the next ones remaining? You need to know three more. Use memo. You need to know use memo. You need to know use callback. You need to know use imperative handle. Use reducer. So use imperative handle, we will discuss it like the next week where we come to forward ref, advanced topic. Use reducer, we will discuss when we come to redux. That is also next week. So these two things are the ones which are need to be done. Focus clearly, sir. These two are the most confusing things in the whole React. Okay. Focus here clearly, which are very easy actually. A little bit difference is there. Okay. They both are actually difference with minute one. Use memo. It is used to memorize expensive calculations. Expensive calculations. Same like how effect runs. This all will run how use effect runs only. However, the use effect runs, use memo, use callback also runs. Okay, but use memo is used to memorize expensive calculations, and use callback. It is used to memorize callback functions. Okay. Now, for someone in the online mentioned it, I liked that comment which Vijay Jangri told, like closures. Did you guys remember in JavaScript one thing called closure? Closure is a topic of memorization where inner function, remember the outer function value, even the outer function execution ended. The similar concept actually you can use it in the use memo. Only the difference is there the inner function did not dependent on any other thing. Okay, but here use memo dependence on some dependencies. Only if the dependencies changes, then only it will call. Okay, that is the main thing here. For example, imagine here, sir, you put one button here and you give here one button. Here you enter 5 and it should print 5 factorial. What is 5 factorial? 120. What is a 5 factorial? 120. It will print it 120. If you give 15, it will give 15 factorial. But sir, the number increases, the factorial will take a time. The factorial is actually complex. Imagine the factorial is small. If something big logic is there, similar to factorial, some big complex logic is there. I am taking factorial. But here, now this factorial is taking a time. I clicked 5 and I entered. Now again I enter click. Second time. People usually double click something, na? Now if I enter 2 times, what the normally will do React? 2 times it will go to that function, 2 times it will call that function, 2 times it will bring 5 factorial, it will calculate 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 and it will bring 120. 2 times it's calculating. right or not? But sir, both times it is calculating 5 factorial only now. Will the humans calculate 2 times? If I ask you 5 factorial, obviously you will first time calculate. Immediately I ask what is 5 factorial. You won't even think about it. You will just say 120. Right or not? Because we know that thing. If tomorrow I asked you, or again after some time I asked you, maybe it may come. But if I ask it immediately, it will come the same answer. You don't calculate. I want the similar kind of thing to happen in my system, my React application, where some kind of calculations I don't want it to apply again and again. Is it clear, sir? Is it clear, ma? Now that is called use memo. What it is called? Use memo. Now how it will be done? Let's start it here. Let's go and do it any logic. App.jsx. Now everything I am writing it here only. Now you can write, see it here. Facts. Const fact comma set fact equals to use state. Initially the fact value can be 1. The basic factorial value will be 1, right? Now here, if someone clicks on a button, someone write it here input, and here on change. Instead of filter data, I will use this one, factorial. You guys know what is factorial? Good. Now here, factorial. Mm, now here, console.log e.target.value. Just I'm printing it. Sir, how do you do factorial? Array, tell me, Ray, how do you find it factorial? Const f is equals to. What does it mean by factorial? Until the 1, it should do each and everything, right? So for let I no, for let I is equals to 1, I less than or equals to e dot target dot value, I plus plus. Let f equals to 1. F equals to f asterisk I. And then once this whole statement is done, then I will get it I value or f value to be something, whatever the value is there. Then I will set the string set factorial as f. Is my logic is right only? No, it starts with one now. 1, 2, 3, I plus plus only now, right? Is it clear what I did? Yeah, it's a basic logic, I think. Okay. Anyone who knows programming will understand it easily. Now, right? So I'm getting it correct only. Now, let's see, sir. Here, refresh console.log. Warning, each child must have a unique key na. Where it is saying it, where did I put the key? Re? ఇదొకటి. Now here, if I write 25, now, no, I am doing it on change. Now, if I put it a button, it would be better instead of this. Then how do I bring it if I put it a button? No, I need to take it two things then. Okay, that would be too bad. Let's go with a button. Now button, click factorial. Now if someone clicks on this, then I will go with on click here factorial method. I will, and instead of this all logic, I will keep it here count to, and here also count to. Whatever the value in the count, that only I'm doing it. I'm just making an interdependencies. Okay, because I don't want to go with another state. That's it. It's not a big deal. You can keep it in another state also, sir. Okay. Now here on change, set count to e dot target dot value. Now everything gonna be perfect. Now here, if I write 5, the 5 value will be updated in count 2. Okay. Then if I click on this click factorial, why it is not printing it? I click here. Why not count 2? It's printing it. Document dot get element by ID. No, you won't use React document. If you want to use document dot get element by ID, use the ref. Use ref also you can use. I just want to make it direct. So here count 2 is there now. Then why it is not showing it count 2? Now here, this is the problem. Here I did not pass E. Okay. So here 5, 5 factorial. But see, here how many times I enter, that many times it's calling. It's calling the function, right or not? So instead of this, if you wrap up this whole thing, if you wrap up this whole thing here inside the use memo. So how do you do it, sir? Here, use memo. You can come here. You can write it here, use memo. And inside the use memo, you will give it here whatever the expensive calculations you want. I want the expensive calculation to be updated here. Factorial. I want this factorial to call only if any dependencies changes. Here you will give an array of dependencies. If this particular dependencies changes only, that will call. Same like how use effect will run. Now here, these dependencies are count to. If you give empty, it will go with every time. Okay. Now here, uh, the above error occurred, cannot access factorial before its initialization. Go here, 5, click, void. Huh? Huh? First time it will automatically call it because empty dependence is only it called automatically. Okay. Huh? No, every time a state changes, I want it based on the state changes. Like count changes, it should call. If count is 5, it should not call. You got my point? Now go here. Hmm. Set count will change it with the input. And if I click on the button, how can I do it? If I put on the button here on click, refresh here, 5, 5. Let's use the DOM logic then. Go here, const input ref equals to use ref. Now here we are going to use all the things here. Now in the use ref, what I'm going to do, whenever I'm inputting it, I'm not changing it. Whenever I click on it, I will change. Ref equals to input ref. Whenever someone clicks on the button on click. Now here I will just give it, sir. Here I will say set count to input ref dot current dot value. Now go here. 5. If I click on this, 120. If I click on this again, can you see here? Am I getting it again? Because it's same 5. So what I did, sir, whenever I'm whenever I'm clicking on this button, I'm updating a value named count to. I'm updating a value named count to. With the count to, I gave a dependency on the use memo. If I did not give this use memo, sir, if I directly call the factorial, okay, then every time, even the 5 is there, every time I click on the button, automatically it will call. But this time it is not calling it. Only the first time when I enter the value, if I give it here 10, it will call 10 factorial. Okay. If I change the value, it will call it. Okay. But if I keep the same value, is it calling? Earlier it called. So what it is happening, the use memo will remember this logic. Use memo will remember based on the input, whether it is the same input or not. If it is the same input, it will not call. If the input changed, then only it will do the action. So for expensive calculations, here factorial is a chota calculations. What if there is a big calculation which wants to reduce for the same type of inputs? For example, searching only. Titanic is there. Earlier, we did movie application searching. Okay, in movie searching application, every time the guy is entering Titanic only. Even though he is entering Titanic, it should call that particular element because but the network space will be wasted. So that is wrong. Also used in the concepts of memorization or caching. Memorization or caching. Sir, use callback and use memo are actually optional ones. Sometimes you may not use them also, but till now, whatever the React applications we did not use them. Still, it will come. But these ones will increase the performance, Now, next one. What is use callback? Now, here you are going into somewhat depth. Now, here, let me create another one, child.jsx. Now here RAFCE. Now here child.jsx. It will receive props and it receives props dot children and child called. Here I will put it in a use effect where use effect with a basic logic console.log child called. Now, sir, I gave empty one. Now let's go here. Okay, one more time I am explaining use memo. Sir, use memo is used to remember the expensive calculations. Okay. Now here factorial is an expensive calculation. What this factorial will do, this factorial will get called every time the count to get updated. Okay. Based on the count to value, it will bring the value. Earlier we did it. When I give it to multiple times, 2 times it used to call. 12 times it called. But here, when I give it now this time, this thing, if I give it 5, only one time it's getting called. Right? Why? Because use memo will remember count to value. What is the previous count to value? 5 only. Now 5 only. So no need to call it. Keep the result same. Okay, see, it always checks with the previous result, sir. It will not have a complete memory. Understand that. See, for example, 5 120. Now go here. Now do simple. Now do again 5. Now again it will call. It's not like it will remember the whole thing. No. The only difference is you can actually implement it in a bigger scale that to remember also. But only the thing is it will remember its previous one. Okay. Only for the next iteration. For the next iteration, if you change the input, if you change the dependency, then only it will not get called. See, is it getting called? No. This is called use memo. Memo means memorize. Clear? Use callback also will do the same thing. Use callback will remember the function instead of a normal value. Use memo is used for a basic value. Okay. Use callback is used for a whole function actually. Now, anyway, where we are doing it. Child I created now. To understand this, you need to understand in a bigger scale. Now here I am just calling it here child. Sir, I think how to print this hi in the child? Props dot children. Props dot. Remember that. Props dot children is nothing but whatever inside the props open and close box. Okay. Now that's what it is coming it here. Here it will print the hi and it will print the child called. Now go here. Where is this child? Okay. I will put it on the top only. This child. Control X. Now go here. Refresh. And now, you know what is interesting? The point is so simple. Child called now one time. If I click on increment, okay. Why it is not updating? What? Okay. See here, child is getting called again and again. Now it is why it is not printing in the console actually. It should print in the console, but child will be called again and again. Every time, sir, what will happen, I think at least will use layout effect will be called. Why it's not calling Ray? Function display console dot log child called refresh. Now see the child called, and here if I click on increments, now again child is calling. Now again child is calling. Now my point is so simple. My point is so simple. Sir, did I render the child component every time? But actually it will get rendered. Every time a parent component get rendered, every component inside the parent component will get rendered. This is one of the most performance one you need to know. Imagine there is an app. Inside the app, one component is there. Inside the component, another component is there. Inside that component, another component is there. If in the app, if someone put a counter, and if the counter is getting updated, one time the app will get rendered, automatically all the child components will get rendered. You got my point? When parent component renders, automatically child component will render. That is a basic logic here. See, if I give it here 5, and I'm getting it a render child component. If I click on this again, now here use memo is not take use memo, because of use memo, it is not calling that particular function. Okay. But if it is rendered normally, automatically it will come. Child also will get rendered. Now I want to stop it. I want to stop it. How do you stop? You can actually do by using every time instead of getting rendered, what you can do is you can say here, before you do export, you can write it here, react dot memo. React dot memo. What is this memo and what is use memo? That's what people confuse. React dot memo is a higher order function. React dot memo is a higher order function. Very good. See, react dot memo or just memo, you can import it. If you import a memo, you can directly write memo also. If you don't import it, you will write it react dot memo, sir. If you already import something like memo, you can directly write also memo. Okay, it's up to you. Okay, you can write memo or you can write react dot memo, but basically the difference is react dot memo is higher order function, higher or sorry, higher order component. There is no function here. Higher order component, sir. What is it mean by component? Higher order component, higher order component, it means it will take functions, functions or components here. Higher order components will take components. I think you all in JavaScript learned higher order functions. What is in JavaScript higher order function means? It will take one function, will take another function, and will return another function. If a function takes a function as a parameter and returns as a parameter, return as a function, then it will be called higher order function. One function returns another function. That is called higher order function. Now, same thing, component also. So what it will do, for example, you have a component named X. So then what it will do, higher order component will take this component and will return a new component. It can change, it can change it, it may not change it. But only if it changes, it will come. You are passing props now. If the props are changed only, if the props are different only, it will come. If the props are not same, it will not come. Now, to understand it in depth, you need to know this. Like to understand use callback, you need to know this, sir. Now here it will take component and return component if input props are changed, then only it will return. If the input props were changed, then only it will return, sir. Sorry, I think I write it in the use callback now. Yeah. Okay. Now let's go here. Let's write it here. Refresh. Now here I just click here increment. Now see, is the child is getting called? See, sir. Now देखो. One more time. I'm gonna show you what is what. Here I'm gonna remove this memo, sir. This one will be highly useful when one component. See, parent component is calling multiple child components. somehow one state is changing in the parent component. If state changes, what will happen? Parent component rendered. When parent component rendered, child component automatically rendered, right or not? Now go here, sir. In when I'm calling the child component, when I'm changing the calling the child component, where I called, here. Did I change any props here? Every time I'm saying it high only, no? Right or not? My props are not changing. Even though my props are not changing, still my component is rendering every time. So multiple renderings happening to child components because the parent component is rendering. Okay, and I want to stop it. Okay, now go here. See here, nothing is there. Now if I go here and refresh, now click on this increment. On every increment, child component is getting called. But instead, if you put this here, memo, now it will not get called like that. Now go here, refresh. Now increment. Did the child component get called? Only if the props change, it will get called. See, for example, child component, I'm sending props here. Here. Name, Raj. And here, every time name is Raj only. Okay. Props dot name. So every time Raj only, so no worries. Okay. But if I send it here, see, go here. If I do, it will not get called. Same logic. But instead, I am sending it a value. C is equals to count. I am sending the count. I am sending the count. Now go here. Now refresh. Now initially, what is the count value? 0. Now here, if I click on this, now see count is incremented. When count is incremented, child will be called. Now I am doing count to increment. Now see count to incremented. Did the child call? Because count is same. Okay. The child component will get called only. The child component will get called only if the props, whatever it is receiving, are changed. If the props receiving are changed. If the props are not changed, the child component will not get called if we use higher order function like use memo. What this use memo will do? This use memo will take it child component. It will take this child component and will return child component only if the props are changed. Only if the props are changed. Else it will not return only. That's why you are not getting it that call. Because I put it directly call only. So every time it comes, it should call. But it is not calling. Is it clear, ma? Is it clear? Any doubts? Online, any doubts, sir, in the use memo? Sorry, use memo and memo. Use memo and react.memo. Just see it once, sir. And tomorrow we are going to discuss use callback and we are going to start our CRUD application. Okay. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow, don't miss. We are going to complete something called CRUD application and we are going to start something tailwind also. Tomorrow we'll do CRUD with tailwind after the callback. But before you comes today, today task is so simple. You don't need to do much task. Today task is learn react.memo and use memo one more time. Use memo and react.memo. Go to the internet and see it, whatever the examples or the React notes which I gave it in that also they are there with the examples. You can check the both ones. Okay. In case if you get any doubts, bring it on in the group. I will explain it. Okay. I have a question in JS. We use add event listener to give multiple functionality. Here we can give same approach. Yes, you can do. Vijay Jangrid. You can give add event listeners here also. Everything in JavaScript can be acceptable in TypeScript in React also. Okay, only the thing is DOM we don't do directly. If we do document.getElementById, it will work, but we don't do that. Performance issues will come. That's it. Okay. You can do it here also, ma. You can actually, you can call multiple things here also. Okay. You can put comma and you can do directly if you want to do. Any other doubts? Any other doubts here? No. That's it. Thank you all. See this example one more time, and tomorrow we'll discuss use callback. Thank you.